Hello, everyone. Hi. Welcome back to reading the scriptures again, Genesis 29. I hope you can hear me. Here we go. Jacob meets Rachel. This is the commentary. Jacob meets Rachel at the well. He serves Laban 7 years for her. Laban gives to Jacob first Leah, then Rachel in marriage. Jacob serves another 7 years, and Leah bears Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Verse 1. Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land, the people of the east, of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of what well they watered the flocks in a great stone upon the well's mouth, a water well. Verse 3. And thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled up the stone from the well's mouth and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. 4. Verse 4. And Jacob said unto them, My brethren, whence be ye? And they said, O Haran are we. Verse 5. And he said unto them, Know ye Laban the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. And verse 6, he said unto them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with sheep. And verse 7, and he said, Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And this is interesting because it says they had cattle, and cattle are called cows, right? So, okay, so it's interesting. So, I mean, they could be called a herd too, you know, but cattle are typically cows. So they had a herd of cows or oxen or something. In verse 8, and they said, We cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well mouth, then we water the sheep. And while he yet spake with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep. No, okay, anyway. His mother's brother and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. They could just say aunt, but I think they want you to be sure which side of the family they're talking about. And Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. And Jacob told Rachel, now this doesn't mean he kissed her on her lips. He probably kissed her on her forehead, or he may have even kissed her hand. That he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. I mean, this is like, oh, cousins are getting together or something, right? And I'm sure they've heard stories about each other and so on and so forth. And they do know how they marry as well. So she very well could have thought, well, he's coming for Leah, unless she had some dreams that he's coming for her, because Leah's the older sister. And it came to pass that Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said unto him, Surely thou art bone of my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, Because thou art my brother, thou therefore serve me for naught. Tell me, what shall thy wages be? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. In verse 17, Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. Now, a lot of people take this as Leah was not very attractive, because they compare it, because they say, but, the word but But Rachel was beautiful and well favored. And so Leah was tender eyed. So there's a lot of things that this can stand for. But um, when you get a horse, you say, I want the one with soft eyes because they're nicer. They're not as snappy. They're gonna be nicer to you. Not that the other one's not, but soft eyes really means they're just a relaxed kind of person, just kind of laid back, um, just very laid back, very kind of, they'll listen, but they're just very laid back. To where another horse might be more feisty, and you might be, they call them knot headed sometimes. But, so it could mean Rachel was beautiful, but she might be a little bit more feisty. She might be like, but dad, and the other one could be like more easygoing, like, okay, it could be just that. And sometimes, have you ever seen a picture? There is this book and it's called Women. And in one side of the picture, the lady can look plain to people. And a guy might not even take a second look at her. And then you look at the next page and it's her in her modeling clothes. And she's the very same person, but she looks so different with her garb on or her makeup on or her all the things, that she does for the show or for whatever, for business. And that could very well be it. Rachel could be the one that does herself up, does her hair up, and has her attitude. And Lay could be just more of a country girl look and kind of relaxed. Not that a country girl isn't pretty, because a lot of country girls really like to get done up. I'm just going to say a more relaxed look, just more relaxed, not all done up, with makeup or hair all done up, just kind of more natural looking and not be like a sassy or fun sassy. Just be, you see sisters sometimes, and one just can get overlooked very easily because they're just kind of happy being them. And some people may call people, what's it called? When you're not, there's the person that's out, really out, what is it called? Introvert, that's what I'm thinking of. She could be an introvert, and introverts sometimes can be unnoticed, and it doesn't mean that she's unattractive. It's a rarity to be just knocked out gorgeous and then have a sister that's complete opposite. So, and also they might be more sensitive too. And I don't mean like crying all the time, but just be more tender, you know and they call it tender eyes. So I just wanted to say that. Anyway, verse 18, and Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And we know the older daughter is supposed to get married first. And the older she gets, the less likely she's going to find a suitor, to marry. That's just the way it was for some reason. Um, isn't that strange? That's just strange because she can still have children. It's one thing if you're past the age of bearing children for a younger person that wants his line to go, but she's young. So anyway, they just wanted to marry the oldest daughter off usually first. And 18, and Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter, thy younger daughter. Now he must have known that was out of culture. And maybe he thought, well, in 7 years, they'll figure that someone will pop up for Lay, and then that will give Lay her chance to get married first. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And in 20, and Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days, for the love he had to her. I mean, he's around her a lot, so he sees her a lot. But he's not allowed. They're not holding hands. They're not doing any of that stuff. So in 22, and Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. And he went unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah his maid for an handmaid. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah. Okay, so he gave Zilpah um, his maid that he had to Leah for a handmaid. In verse 25, and it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, so now they're saying he, um, and it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, so he's talking about Jacob said to Laban, What what is this thou hast done unto me? Did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? And he did. And Laban said, It must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. I mean, you can imagine. He probably could have said, I'm going to serve you 1 year or I'm going to divorce your daughter. And then he would have been in a big problem, because he would have said, well, I better give it to him and give him um, Rachel now, or Lay's going to end up divorced. And then he would have got what he wanted sooner. But what the dad probably wanted was giving that Jacob more time with Lay so that she can have a husband to herself for at least 7 years before he possibly may start to neglect her once he gets Rachel. And so he could be trying to buy her some intimate, loving years with just him and her. Um, and Laban said, and so they're clearly practicing polygamy here. Um, okay, and Laban said, It must not be done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn. In verse 27, fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou hast served with me yet another 7 years. And in 28, and Jacob did so and fulfilled her week. And he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. Now think about this. They're calling it a week, but it's 7 years. And there's 7 days in a week, which is kind of interesting, because some people think that God created the world in 7 days. And but anyway, here it's 7 years, and they call 7 years a week. So it's interesting. Um, and Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah, his handmaid, to be her maid. So Rachel gets a handmaid too. So could you imagine getting married and being a woman and be given a maid automatically when you get married? I mean, it's like being given a maid, to take care of all the other things so you can bond with your husband. Basically, that's, what's happening. You're bonding with your husband. And it helps you have a better relationship with your children and your husband, because you're not caught up in all the cleaning and needing to get that done. And when you're tired to wake up for the baby, they can wake up or whatever. So, and serve you when you're ill. I mean, really. So, but who knows why these were their maids? They could have been people that were being sold at the slave trade. And yes, they had slaves this was a slave trade, and it's not about race. It's just people that parents owed bills, and they couldn't pay their bills, so they gave a child or gave someone else, gave a person for their money, and that person becomes theirs. So and sometimes people just felt like they couldn't make it on their own, and maybe they have no family, they have no this or whatever, and they decide they will serve someone, and they make it oath to serve another family until this happens or that happens, because they need to be in groups of people to be taken care of and not being taken advantage of, than just a lone person on the streets trying to make it with all the harassment, especially particularly women. So yeah. And Laban said, it must not be so done. Okay, blah, blah. Let's see. And 29, and Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah and his handmaid to be her maid. And in 30, he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. So Leah, that's a lot of time. 3 times 7, he's living with this guy 21 years. This is going on for 21 years. That's a long time. Before he, heads back home to his mom or anyone. Not saying, I mean, that's a long time. So he's kind of keeping his girls home, because they're, we know with Jacob's mom, she left home. She left there and went to go live with her husband's family, where he's really keeping his girls at home and making him make these oaths that he'll keep them before he takes them home. And anyway, and it says that Rachel he loved more than Leah, but we knew that already. And it doesn't say that he doesn't love Leah at all. It just says that he loves her more. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. So right here it says when the Lord saw, and I don't think the word is hated. You would have to go back to what the word that the language that they use, the thesauruses that has so many meanings for that, what that word could be. And it probably means that she was ignored more. She didn't get all the attention that Rachel clearly got, and the googly eyes. I mean, not that she was hated and hit and kicked around and all that kind of stuff like that and lied on or something. It was more like he should be loving on her because that's his wife, regardless of whether he loves her. He should treat her with love, more love. And he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren, and Leah conceived and bare a son. And she called his name Reuben. So now we're getting to the tribes of Israel, aren't we? So Reuben is a tribe of Israel. For she said, surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. So the children of Israel were all from polygamy, right? As you'll see, there'll be 4 wives, I believe, involved here. So 4 women. There'll be 4 women involved here in this, the 12 tribes coming about. So Reuben came from Leah, the first wife of Jacob, but it wasn't the first wife that he came for. 33, and she conceived again and bare a son, and said, because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And we know Levi is the kids of Lehi end up being the temple workers. What's interesting too is that he must be having sex with her. It must be coming on to her or whatever, because she's having children. So it's not like she's not getting any attention. He's obviously going back and forth to the both. And these babies have to be blessed, and they have to be given, all this stuff going on, and that's Leah participating in that with him. And so, if you know what the other tribes are for, go ahead and put in the comment section, like what they're the head of, their symbol. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi, which does the temples. And that's what Jeremiah was. No, not Jeremiah, I'm sorry. Who's John the Baptist's dad. John the Baptist's dad came from the Levites, right? That's what was his name? We're going to get into that in the New Testament. Um, oh gosh, what was his name? Oh well, I can't think of it right now, but maybe you can. Um, yeah. So John the Baptist came from the Levites, and he was baptized, John the Baptizer, right? And so she really has a great posterity. She has some great posterity in there that really got wrote up in the scriptures. And in 35, and she conceived again and bare a son, and she said, "Now will I praise the Lord." Um, therefore she called his name Judah and left bearing. So she's had all these boys, and Rachel still hasn't had a child yet. And Judah, we know, is who David came by, and we hear about David was the boy that used to slay lions and and um, and that giant. They got into a war with somebody. We'll get there. Um, and yeah, so that's who he came by. So we know of two of her great grands through Levi and Judah. I don't know a lot of. I haven't. Well, I'm sure we'll get to it. But tomorrow we're going to start the New Testament, and then we'll come back to the Old Testament when December is done, or when we get past certain the birth of Christ and a few things in there. We'll then we'll head back to um, the Old Testament again. I'm trying to Zechariah, not a J. I was thinking of J. Zechariah is the father of John the Baptist, and he was a Levite because he served in the temple. So there we go. Thank you for joining. I hope this helps. And remember, I write in my scriptures, and there's nothing wrong with writing in your scriptures. Some people even draw huge pictures in there. They use crayons, and if it talks about a tree, they draw a tree in that place. But I write in all the white space I can find in my scriptures, and someday I would like to go back and do pictures over it, but I can't write over the pictures. So um, anyway, I hope this helped to read the Old Testament. Sometimes it helps to do it with someone. Okay, take care. Have a great day, and I will see you in Genesis 30. The cat's falling. Hi, baby. Come on. End. There we go. Is it ending? There we go.